between a couple of cones for 6 minutes, and they record the distance that you've done, and that's basically their measure of fitness. And for that matter, pre-transplant, you have to be able to walk at least 200 metres as an ongoing thing in order to be considered fit enough to still actually be able to survive a transplant. And if you don't make that, then unfortunately they kick you off the list, which, well, as you can see, getting 287 this time last year with how quick I was pretty shit scared that that was going to happen. So it was just lucky that I managed to actually be able to do that, because I was fairly damn crook at the time. But yeah, certainly now life is a hell of a lot better, that's for sure. And for that matter, hey, I'm still alive when I just wouldn't have been otherwise. And there's probably the most important one of all, the spirometry trends, thanks to the good people down at the cardiology suite. It's my lung function results going back even as far as 2003. And obviously those two on the end there, they just look that little bit more impressive, don't they? And for that matter, that last one was the one that was taken just yesterday afternoon. So as you can see, not only once you get new lungs, do they get better real fast, but they keep getting better. It doesn't just sort of stop, although, hey, I'm up to 77% now, so the chances are I probably can't go too much further, especially too when you consider that the donor lungs I actually got are actually slightly smaller than my chest cavity, not so small that my diaphragm doesn't still work, but because otherwise they wouldn't have done it. But the reality is that because they're slightly smaller than my cavity, then the chances of actually getting a 100% FEV1 are probably not going to happen, which is bugger, but never mind. And for that matter too, I mean, my weight being 83.3 kgs this morning means that if I put it on another 2 kgs, I'll actually be considered clinically overweight. Exactly. When you have CF, that's not something that happens, And hey, I'm only on 7.5 milligrams of prednisone now too, so we can't blame that for it either. And this is just an interesting thing that actually someone posted up on their Facebook last night that I just thought I'd throw in, just because I'm going to use the same thing for a few others of these, just about chronic illness and just some of the things that annoyed this particular person. And I thought, well, when you have CF, it's actually not a bad one. And I think it kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? But it's also, I put it in here to remind me of, I guess, all the times that I've had such difficulty actually getting the, what do you call it? I mean, the care that I've needed, just because, of course, being the small regional centre we are and having, obviously only a handful of CF patients here, and even less at an adult level. Of course, I've been pretty much the only one utilising the service here in the last, up until the last couple of years. So essentially, in the early part of the decade, they actually had to write up a whole protocol with my name on it, just so that I could actually get some proper treatment without it being a great drama all the time. So thank you. I mean, I think most of you here at one point or another I've come across and have put up with me telling you what to do, which of course most medical staff don't normally like. But when you have CF, it's one of the realities of the situation. You get to a point very quickly where you actually know more about what needs to go on with your health than most of the medical professionals around you. So it's just been really brilliant that the majority of people in this hospital have been reasonably receptive over the years to actually having me point them in the right direction. And I've just thrown this one in. Please support my sponsor, because of course it is starting to cost me a little bit of money to go around and keep talking to people, but that's more for when I go down to Hutt Hospital. So if you want more info, all this and plus a whole lot of other stuff that I've tried to document the last sort of 8 or 9 months as much as I can, and I just keep updating it regularly online. So yeah, if you want more info, you can get it there. And for that matter, there's a little supplies here too. Here's the old lungs themselves. So if you want to come down and have a perf and have a bit of a poke and a prod, you're more than welcome. And there's pictures of all the cross sections I had up before as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much me anyway. So yeah.
So, floor's open if anyone would like to ask questions, just go ahead and give Jonathan try now.
What happens with the present lung?
In what way?
Are they affected by your problem?
I see it. No, I'm on anti-rejection medication. So the idea is to essentially stop the immune system from kicking in and saying, hey, there's something foreign here. You know, it shouldn't be here. Let's, try and spit it out again. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the way the transplant team puts it is, when you get a transplant, you essentially swap one set of problems for another. You no longer have to worry about CF killing you, but ultimately it will be chronic rejection that kills you. So yeah, and I mean, if you read what they wrote in the paper about it being 3 to 5 years needing another transplant, that's what happens when they send a student journalist to interview. Yep.
How long were you actually on the waiting list for transplantation?
Yep. 13 months. The average waiting time is about 10, but of course they expected that mine would be a little bit longer, just because of course I'm taller than the average donor and recipient for that matter, and of course my chest cavity again, like I was saying before, is quite large even for my height. So it was all about waiting for quite a large donor. I mean, the things I had working for me at least were that because I was the only one, it meant that essentially I was the only one on the list that was the same height, blood type and whatever, and of course I had an A blood type, which means I'm compatible with half the population. No, O blood type, so yeah.
Are you aware that there's another person in the local community here who's called Jason Fowler?
No?
And I issued him with a flying license really, and when I knew you were going to be the speaker, I thought it was him.
What's funny?
I've got them all here. He didn't have an own transplant.
It's interesting. I mean, when they interviewed me for the paper, they even wrote somewhere in the middle of it that my name is Mr. Foster. Don't know who this Mr. Foster guy is, but no, I'll pull him. Yeah. But there's one other lady with CF, a couple of years younger than me at the moment, who's just got the call on Friday to say that she's now on the active transplant waiting list. So, given the fact that there's not a whole heap of people waiting across the country at the moment, I think she'll get her lungs fairly quickly. Yep.
I don't know, you mentioned it before. Do you know much about your donor?
Yep. What you're officially told is age, sex, and ethnicity. I know a lot more than that, but I shouldn't put it that way. But of course, we live in a fairly small country, and the media is, yeah. Yep.
Okay, if there are no other questions, thank you very much, Jonathan. Have a look at the lungs, Jonathan. Keen to show them off.
Yep.